we call that premature eroticization of children.
Okay.
So, children who are exposed to inappropriate content will exhibit behavior that is not typical of their age.
Okay.
And this inappropriate content can be porn on a more, so it can be porn, it can be a sign of them being sexually abused as well. Or it can be just the fact that they are trying to work out a behavior that they have seen. So for example, if they walk in on their parents, right? And they have a particularly negative reaction towards this, you know, the whole screaming and get out and whatever. So what happens is kids then mimic this behavior that they see in order to try to understand what they have seen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That it's a bit like when kids want to watch the same cartoons over and over again.
Yes. Okay.
So they do this over and over again because they're absorbing the lessons from the cartoon that they're watching.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so children do both repetition and role playing, and this is how they learn and interpret the world around them, right? So what happens when kids are exposed to inappropriate content is they don't know what to do with that information. So they will display this by themselves, or they will enact it with other children.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now we start to find some reasoning and some of the explanation of why when children are sexually abused from a very young age, they then reenact this on even siblings or children, right?
Sorry.
And what you're saying is one of the reasons for that is because they're trying to make sense of what was the behavior that was done onto them. And one of the ways that young people try to make sense of things in their head is by performing that action again. But what are they looking for when they perform that action again? What is it? How are they learning from that?
So here I feel like we have to be a bit mindful of the words that we use in terms of age, because I felt like the video that you had commented on as well talked about children. Are we talking about children as teenagers, or are we talking about young children, right? Because, you know, young children for, you know, until the age of like 9, 10, they do a lot of this repetition and a lot of this learning that has to do with, like, they want to figure out, for example, why certain things feel good and why certain things feel bad. But it's not just figuring out their bodies, it's figuring out their emotions, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the same can be said to about teenagers, because teenagers have they have higher content of sex hormones in their bodies. So how they process things around them is different. Their level of cognition is different. So they know what they're doing, you know, teenage. So there are several ways that children who have been sexually abused then show that to the world and ask for help, right? Wow. Because whatever way this is being expressed, it is a call for help.
Wow.
So one thing that I think is very important, and I hate seeing this on a lot of the sex ed and sexual abuse prevention stuff, is, oh, children abuse children. No, children don't abuse children. There's two victims if you have a atypical sexual game between children.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean? If you have a 6-year-old who is forcibly trying to touch or see somebody else's body or genitals or whatever, this kid is not some kind of
predator.
You know, this is a kid who is also a victim and should be treated as a victim and should be given adequate sexual education and given adequate, psychological support, and not be treated like a bad person. This kid didn't just come up with this behavior on their own.
Yes, yes, that's a really strong point to make.